Happy Passover. I don't know if this is working or not. I've never done this in this way, but it looks like it's working. All right. Start off with the blessing on the wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. L'chaim. Die, die, no, die, die, no, die, die, no, die, no, die, no, die, no, die, die, no, die, die, no, die, die, no, die, no, die, no. So tonight we find ourselves in middle of Passover. Passover started last week. The first night of Passover was Wednesday evening, and it's an 8-day holiday, so it goes all the way anywhere outside of Israel, all the way through Thursday. The first 2 days are what's called holy days, holidays, and the final 2 are the same. And the middle days we call Chol HaMoed. So Happy Moed, Agut Moed, or Moadim L'Simcha. They're the intermediate days, but they're still special days. There's an opinion that says one should have a cup of wine each day of Passover, including the intermediate days, to help enhance the joy of the holiday. So I'm having mine here. If you got one at home, feel free to join in. L'chaim. I'm really not sure if this is working. I wish there was a way for me to know. Let's pretend that it's working and just keep going. I think we'll do that. I guess if anybody wants, they could, I guess give a thumbs up or something. Let me know if you can hear me. So, Passover is a joyous time, a special time. I want to get to that. But before that, I just want to mention pretty briefly, of course, we cannot go without mentioning the corona. This crazy pandemic that's happening, that is affecting us. It's really crazy. And there's a few important lessons we can take from it. I just wanted briefly to mention something. Firstly, a lot of times when there is something happening, a problem in the world, there's 2 things that we think about. One, okay, whatever, something's happening somewhere in the world, but what does it got to do with me? Not usually affecting me or anything like that. And the second thing that happens often, even if it is affecting you or not, it's like, what can I do about it anyway? Let other people take care of it. This crazy pandemic, we all know, these 2 ideas do not exist. Number one, everybody in the world, one way or another, is being affected by this. Secondly, we all can do something about it. As we know, whether it's staying home as much as we can and all the other things we got to do. So that's important about this pandemic, but it teaches us an extremely important lesson, a lesson in the area of unity. We got to make sure we are unified. That is really the way that we're able to fight this pandemic. And it's a special, unique about it. Again, these 2 areas show us how much unity is important. But I wanted to mention something else in general we can pay attention to when it comes to problems. I heard this in the name of the Rebbe. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, that someone came to the Rebbe and said this, but the idea is definitely true. When somebody has a problem, really a big part of it is the approach, the mindset one takes to it. 3 different ways you could look at a problem. One, you could say, you have a problem. The second one is not necessarily as a problem, but as a challenge. That's a better outlook. And the third, and probably the best outlook, is looking at it as not just a challenge, but actually as an opportunity. So taking anything that we have and making sure that we use the proper approach to it. If it's a problem, don't look at it as a problem. Don't even look at it just as a challenge, but look at it specifically as an opportunity. And in connection to what's going on now, we obviously can understand that, wow, this can be an opportunity. How? For each person, it's different, and it could be difficult to come to that understanding and conclusion, but realize that there is an opportunity in front of you, an opportunity that you could spend more time thinking about yourself, spend more time with your family. Maybe for some people that are in that mindset, thinking of ideas of business opportunities. But definitely we all could look at it as some sort of opportunity. And that's really what we have to do. So that's in general, whenever something comes, especially something so crazy, so large, a pandemic affecting the whole world, we have to look at it as an opportunity. Of course, I want to take this moment to pray for all those that are in need, whether it has to do with health, whether economically or any other area that are being affected by this pandemic or for any other reason. Say a special l'chaim, that they should have all healing and anything else that they need. And may God Almighty take away this crazy pandemic very quickly and soon. L'chaim. So in less than 24 hours, the final days of Passover begin. This is it. This is pretty crazy, pretty intense. This holiday, many people prepare for. Lots of work, hours, effort, and we're already more than halfway through. It started, of course, with the night of the Seder, so beautiful. Definitely this year different than any other year, but still, nonetheless, I hope for some of you it was meaningful and beautiful. That's where it began, and then we have the second day, and then we have the intermediate days. Tomorrow night, the final days begin. When it comes to Passover, we explained that the first days of Passover are connected to the first liberation, the first redemption, the time the Jews were redeemed from Egypt, where the final days are connected with the final liberation, the final redemption, hopefully going to take place momentarily with the coming of Mashiach. So it's interesting how these two, the first days with the first redemption and the final days with the final redemption have a strong connection. And not just, of course, are we celebrating that, but the first night, the first day of Passover is when God took us out of Egypt. I think it's now 3,332 years ago, if I remember correctly, something like that. And it's actually tomorrow night, the seventh day of Passover, when the famous story of the splitting of the Red Sea, Kriyat Yamsuf, took place. So it's a special holiday just for that in and of itself. And of course, we're still remembering God taking us out of Egypt. The story of the splitting of the Red Sea is a phenomenal and important story from the Jewish nation literally changed before that event and after it. I'm not going to get into all those details now. But the final day of Passover, the eighth day, which is not tomorrow night, but the night after, I think now is Monday, so that would be Wednesday night. And Thursday, the final day, is primarily a day extremely focused on the final redemption and very focused on Mashiach. So first and foremost, this can be seen simply in the Haftorah. The most, if I can say, messianic Haftorah of the whole year is, of course, all the Haftorahs are from the Tanakh, from Nach specifically, from the prophets or the books of, or book of writings. But this final day of Passover, the Haftorah, is from the book of Isaiah. And in the book of Isaiah itself, it's the chapters that speak very clearly about the coming of the final redemption and Mashiach. Like there's many famous verses amongst them. A wolf shall live with a lamb, and the leopard shall lie with a kid, and a calf and a lion cub. Sorry, I'm not quoting exactly over here, but these are verses that many of you are familiar with, and many other verses are all in that Haftorah for the final day of Passover. So usually if we would be going to synagogue, if we had temple, we would hear it. Unfortunately, because of the situation, many people are not able to hear the Haftorah. You're welcome to read it on your own. If you would like, you can reach out to me afterwards, and I'll be happy to share you a copy of it in Hebrew and English, both. Very, very special reading. But that shows that the whole day is connected with Mashiach. There's a reason we chose that Haftorah on that day. Before I continue speaking about that day and Mashiach, we'll only go for a couple more minutes over here. I wanted to take pause and mention something very, very important. There are a few times a year we have a special prayer in synagogue, and that is the Yizkar prayer, when we remember our loved ones that have passed. It's very special. It's a time we connect to the soul of our loved ones. And it's from the times of a year that some people specifically make an extra effort to make sure to come to synagogue, even if they don't other times of year. As we all know, this year we're not able to make it to synagogue for most of the world. So, firstly, it's important to still say the prayer. If you would like me to send you a copy of that, I'll be more than happy to do that. In addition, it's important to know that it can be said on your own. It does not need a quorum, a minyan. In addition, if you would like, you can send me the deceased's name and father's name and date of passing, preferably, and I will share it with a minyan that is taking place. There is at least one minyan that I'm aware of. I'm understanding that they're doing it with all the proper health guidelines, probably a very large room with about just 10 people in it, each one many, many feet away from each other. So you can send me the names afterwards, and I will be happy to share it there. But that is a very important prayer. So for anybody that has a father or a mother or anyone else that they say the Yizkar prayer for, it's important to say it on your own at home this Thursday morning. Anytime is good. All right, back to the Mashiach topic. So this final day of Passover is extremely powerful day focused on Mashiach. There's a special energy that we're told is in the air on that day. It's like a spiritual energy that's there, like the spirit of Mashiach is in the air. You know, we mention Mashiach a lot, and firstly, I just have to say this because some people, when they hear Jewish people speaking about Mashiach or Messiah, it just throws them off. I don't know, it sounds maybe like it's not a Jewish topic. The belief in Mashiach and the belief in the Messiah is from the foundations of Judaism. It's a fundamental belief in Judaism. Maimonides listed in the 13 principles of faith. I'm not going to give you a whole class on it, on the importance of Mashiach, but it's important to take note of that for those that are hesitant about this topic or are not familiar with its connection to Judaism per se, because of maybe other religions use it as well, have that concept in their religion. It's important to recognize that Mashiach is a very big part of it. We know that Jewish beliefs is not what me or you decide, but it's based on our books, on the writings, on our history. And if you look at the Tanakh, the Bible, the foundation of Judaism, many, many areas where it speaks about Mashiach, including the one that we mentioned now from the book of Isaiah in general, specifically the Haftorah of the final day of Passover. But what's going to happen when Mashiach comes, people wonder. Also, not a class that we're here to talk about that at great length, but let me just tell you it's going to be good. It's going to be good for everyone. Believe me, it's going to be exciting. Amongst the things that's going to happen is there will be no worries of prosperity or wealth. Nobody is going to be poor. So right now, if you're in an economically tight spot, please pray for Mashiach. It's going to help that. Another thing right now people can use prayer for is health. When Mashiach comes, everybody is going to be healthy. There won't be any more diseases or things of that nature. Now, these things definitely sound supernatural. They don't sound natural. They sound miraculous, which is, I agree with that 100%. But God split the Red Sea, like we mentioned. That's actually, we're commemorating that tomorrow night. He can do many things. He can bring the Mashiach as well. But I want to add one more thing that's going to happen when Mashiach comes, and that is there is going to be peace in the entire world. That is something very powerful and very important. We all, I hope, pray for peace every day. And peace has many levels, all levels of peace. Peace with yourself, peace if there's your family, your community, and peace in the entire world. All of that and much, much more is going to happen when Mashiach comes. That's just a taste of some of the goodies that are going to happen when Mashiach comes. But this day is Mashiach's day. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, about 300 some years ago, instituted that on the final day of Passover, in addition to the regular meals that take place every other holiday, which is typically the eve of the holiday, the night going into the holiday, and the morning or afternoon of the holiday. Late afternoon, he instituted an additional meal, and he gave it a name. He called it Mashiach's Seudah, a feast of Mashiach. Seudah is a meal, a festive meal, so the festive meal of Mashiach. And being that this has the power of Mashiach is, of course, why the Baal Shem Tov instituted it. And later on, the fifth Chabad Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, instituted that by this meal, in addition to just enjoying it and having a good time, we should also have special matzah and wine. And not just wine, like I'm having now, l'chaim. Excuse my fancy Passover cup. But we should also have 4 cups of wine like we have at the Seder. So, at Mashiach Seudah, it's important as follows. Let's get practical a moment. This Thursday, the last day of Passover, before Passover ends, so late afternoon, early evening, sit either by yourself, with your spouse, with your children, with your family, sit together and focus on Mashiach for a moment. Focus on redemption, on liberation. There's plenty that you can talk about. There's plenty you can learn about. Once again, if you want a couple articles, you can reach out to me after. I'll be happy to send them your way. But spend the time thinking about Mashiach, praying for Mashiach. And, in addition to the general final redemption that, God willing, is coming momentarily, we can each focus, meditate a little bit during that Mashiach Seudah on our own private liberations, our own private redemptions that we need or would like to have or can have. We're sometimes are kind of trapped in different limitations. And in general, there's a message from Passover, which is leaving Egypt. And the word Egypt in Hebrew, Mitzrayim, comes from the word Meitzarim, which means boundaries. We got to break through our boundaries. This Passover, that's what it's about. So that final day of Passover, when hopefully each of you will sit down to have this Mashiach Seudah, this festive meal on Thursday late afternoon, you'll focus on your own liberations and your own redemptions that you would like to have privately, and you can discuss it with your family, discuss it with whomever you're able to. Of course, only the people that are around you. Nowadays, we don't gather together. Part of the reason I'm making this video is because usually the final day of Passover is very celebratorious. I don't know if that's a word. It's very enjoyable. Here at the Chabad of Springfield, we have a very nice event. We have people come and enjoy it. And we have the 4 cups of wine and the matzah, and we sing and we chat and we speak about Mashiach, and it's a joyous time. So when the holiday is here this year, we're going to have to do that ourselves. It's difficult. Usually the holiday of Passover, my grandfather came when he was alive, and Yabad L'chaim now. My grandmothers have been coming, and my whole family. I have my parents, and I'm one of 11 siblings, as some of you may know. That's it. Nobody came this year. They all canceled for good reason. I mean, because of the unfortunate situation, they made a good decision, and all the plans were canceled, and now we're here ourselves. But just like we did the Seder ourselves, we're going to do this ourselves, but we're going to do it in good spirit. And that's what I'm asking of each one of you. In good spirit, Thursday afternoon, sit together with whoever's in your household or by yourself. Have a festive meal, enjoy dinner, whatever it is. At that meal, have matzah, preferably the special handmade shmor matzah. If you need any more of that and you're in Springfield, please feel free to reach out. Have wine or grape juice, 4 cups. While having those 4 cups of wine or grape juice, have in mind that they are connected with Mashiach, with the final redemption, which we are all praying for years and years. That's it. The temple was destroyed over 1900 years ago. It's time for the 3rd and final temple to be here with the coming of Mashiach. While you are sitting at the festive meal for Mashiach, having that matzah, having that wine, discussing Mashiach with everybody, discussing your own private liberations or redemptions you would like. Of course, you can say the special prayer for Mashiach of Yechi Adonenu, Moreinu v'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach L'Olam Va'ed. And any other prayers you're familiar with associated with Mashiach, it's a special time. I'm going to finish up over here. Didn't want to go too long, a short 20-minute, I don't want to call it a class, get together where we could, from afar, say L'chaim and hope and pray for only good. And the most important thing, of course, is the coming of Mashiach. Like I said, Passover is a time that we have to leave our own limitations. For me to do this Facebook Live is kind of leaving my limitations. I've never really done it in this way before. Maybe if I'll get some feedback later how it went. But in addition, for me to sing on Facebook Live is definitely leaving my boundaries. But we'll go ahead with it. We'll take the leap. And whoever would like, from your own comfort of your home, to sing along one of the most famous Jewish prayers, a prayer of peace, a prayer that we can have in mind the time of true peace, the time of Mashiach, may it be speedily. So for those of you who would like, join in. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Vimru, vimru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. So let me finish off with the final l'chaim. Once again, asking God to bring peace, health, everything anybody needs, whether in connection to this crazy pandemic, the coronavirus that's going on, or any other reason. And the main thing, like we mentioned, even before we enter the final days of Passover, we will already merit to have the final and complete revelation and coming of Mashiach. May it be now, L'chaim, Yechi Adonenu, Morenu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach L'olam Vad. Thank you all for joining.